And now French police have clashed with yellow vest protesters once again in the capital, Paris. Security forces fired tear gas to disperse the crowd. Now similar clashes also reported or erupted in other cities throughout the country. Look at that. This is the sixth consecutive Saturday that protesters came out in droves to express anger at the government's economic policies. They're calling on President Emmanuel Macron to resign. Over 100 protesters were arrested by police. Yellow Vest movement emerged last month after Macron announced hikes in fuel taxes to encourage a transition toward greener energy. The government then suspended those price hikes after protests snowballed into a general movement against Macron's policies and the high cost of living. Joining us now out of Niagara Falls is Mr. Jason Unruhe. For more on the story, political commentator and analyst. Hello, Jason. Pleasure to have you back on the program. Look, these protests are showing no signs of abating. Jason, why?
I think that there's a great deal more going on here than simply the fuel tax hike. I think that people are very, very angry about a lot of things that have been going on since at least the Great Recession. Many of the neoliberal reforms that have been slowly coming on since that recession did take place are finally culminating. This fuel tax was probably the straw that broke the camel's back. This was the one thing that pushed things too far, that led all this popular anger against many other issues finally explode out. Some of them, the loss of many essential services for the public, ongoing low wages, low-wage jobs, the social safety net that is now no longer there, that was once there. Many people angry over a myriad of different issues, including immigration. Some of them have very negative feelings towards immigrants coming into the country. It really is a mishmash of a lot of popular anger coming from a lot of different sides of society, which is why one or two simple reforms won't be enough to abate their anger, because there are so many issues that are fueling these protests at this time, and I think that plays a very big part in this. People see that with all of this, there is the momentum to possibly create even greater change in the country, to get even greater concessions from the ruling elites inside the country, and I think that's the real motivating force behind all of this.
And Jason, you know, this is a rather popular movement, you know, spreading throughout Europe now. I mean, Belgium has had yellow vest movements. We've seen it in Portugal. We have, you know, other European leaders or governments that are trying to get these yellow vests off the market. They're trying to tell people that sell these things, hey, stick them in storage for a while. Don't let people get their hands on them, showing that this is an economic malaise that's really plaguing a lot of European nations. People are tired of this deteriorating, living standards, and they just have nothing to show at the end of the month for their hard work.
And definitely, this has been an ongoing problem in many countries in Europe. Not many came out of the global recession that well. Germany being one of the few exceptions in that case. We had the terrible case with the debt in Ireland, the monstrous case of the situation in Greece, and the austerity and the loans that needed to be paid back. And I think that kind of popular anger is going on all over Europe. There's mass unrest. There are many countries that are leaning very hard to the right, that have very racist, very xenophobic views, that continue to perpetuate the idea that the problems inside the country are primarily responsible by people outside of the country, rather than fully understanding the economic situation itself. So this anger, this general upset at the way things are, can manifest themselves different ways, and they can lead people off to different conclusions in different directions. But the general upset that the people feel are starting to become caramelized around this yellow vest idea. And there's the old saying, it only takes a single spark to start a prairie fire, and that may be what we're looking at right now. This may be the catalyst for a much larger situation inside of Europe. This could fuel things like people demanding to leave the European Union and other radical things like that. And I'm sure that's something that many of the ruling classes who would like to see much more social peace would like to keep a lid on.
I bet. And the government in France is trying to give concessions, but you know what? Yellow Vest protesters aren't having it. They want a complete overhaul, and they don't seem like they're going to let off until they get one. Thank you for joining us, sir. We're out of time. Jason Unruhe, political commentator and analyst, everyone joining us out of Niagara Falls.